Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Stilezzi here. We got a live cast of game for you today to look at. It's going to be Varingo versus Jesucristo in a duel between the Asian civs. Jesucristo using the Koreans and Varingo using the Japanese. Yeah, I guess we couldn't find enough people to do a team game, so you know what? It's better not to waste a good opportunity to have a nice live match to cast for you. So this should be a really fun show of what these players have to offer for us here. Yep, and if you want to see your games on the channel at any point, you just have to submit them to the Wars of Liberty multiplayer rec games channel. And once I hit a certain quota, which is usually, like 13 or so recordings, then I can do a whole live stream dedicated to them. Yep, but while we wait for those, it's nice to have a nice little treat here to enjoy. Indeed, this should be a very good battle. Varingo is a very seasoned Japan player. I've seen him play Japan for about probably 7 years now. So, Varingo is no stranger to the Civ, which will be a really good competition. Whereas Jesucristo using the Koreans, I've seen his Koreans before, and they're pretty fabulous, actually. Note that both Japan and Korea are classified as S-tier civilizations in Wars of Liberty currently. So, in terms of civ balance, who has a bigger edge in terms of what they chose, it's really anybody's game here. It all comes down to skill and deck decisions, right? What cards you put in, what cards you don't put in. Right, so this should be a really interesting one. Varingo tends to do this one from a very turtle-like perspective, right? But he is no stranger to offense as Japan. He knows how to manage his Shiguma musketeers quite well. Can get into some really good maneuvers with kiting and adding in skirmishers and cav is needed to support his pushes, so he knows the Japan Civ pretty good, honestly. And as you know, with Japan, they're very good economically. Varingo is going to spend probably most of his time here, running around this map and trying to get as many shrines down as possible to boost his economy, whereas Jesucristo is going to take more of a balanced approach. A balanced approach between booming and defense. And eventually offense. I think in terms of this battle, it's going to come down to Japan's infantry micro versus Korea's Myeongyung longbow archer micro. Because of the two barracks units Korea gets in H2, their archer unit and their spearmen, Archer's going to see a lot more action here. Also, we're going to have to see what the consulate options are, since both civs have consulate allies. I think in general, Korea has a bit of spicier options, but certainly Japan might throw them for a loop too if they go Dutch or something, so we'll have to pay attention to this very closely. Now, what decks do we got here? Nope, that's my options. Where is the decks? Right here. Alright, so Korea is running a pretty good 1v1 deck. Plenty of crates. Some decent military shipments. With the spearmen, the archers, Hwachas. I do recommend you put Lord of the Mountains in there, just so you can have that tiger backup option of tigers coming from the church. Yeah, if you didn't know, Korea gets this really powerful card called Lord of the Mountains, where you can produce tigers for free over time from your monastery. But it cuts the build limit in half from 10 to 5. Still, it's a really strong unit that's totally free, so I don't know why you would put that down in your card priority list, but who knows. Whereas Japan is running a counter water deck. What did the Funes doing in there? There's not even any water in sight on this map. We're in the high plains of the United States. Do you plan on sticking your boat on top of this hot geyser over here or something? Like, I don't know. You should have probably checked his deck before coming here, but this was kind of an impromptu match, so I sort of understand it. Yeah. Either way, though, it has the necessities, I think, that Varingo usually uses as his staple. Now, one thing to note here. This silversmith card is going to come in real handy because, as you can see, it has red borders around it. As you know, Japanese cards that have red borders around them can be shipped twice. So really, Ringo could potentially get 40% better mining rate if he were to double dip the chip with this card, provided he's not pressured too much by the archers. Yeah, that's going to be Japan's biggest danger, is going to be dealing with mass Myung archer abuse against them. So they're going to have to come up with some counter to that. They can go with the Gunto Ryer from the stable if it comes down to it. Going with the Toshugu Shrine, following in Cappy's method. Normally in the 5th edition we see Torii Gate, but in War's Liberty more recently we have seen more of the Toshugu Shrine. More of that greedy play. Also, Consulate is being constructed. I would presume Ringo's going to be more traditional as he has in the past and go Portuguese, but there's always the possibility of a USA or a Dutch being put in here as well. Yeah, as for Korea, they go up with the Grand Palace. This is the de facto H2 wonder to get. If you don't get the Grand Palace, you're missing out on a whole lot. Free villagers over time from it, similar to the Ottoman town centers. Also, you can research the H1 European market texts like hunting dogs, gangsa, placer mines, as well as the villager stat ones for double price. So there's a bit of booming aspect on both the tech side and the villager number side if you get that wonder. It's really good. No trading posts yet, but there is a villager here just standing around. I don't know what he's doing. Now he's putting down the barracks, so this will be a bit more aggressive. Yeah, he could have potentially put the barracks around here for a more defensive play with his army. So this is telling us that, yeah, he wants to push on this Japan very quickly indeed. In fact, goes double barracks in fact. So is probably going to go hard Myung archer. It may include a few Dangpa spearmen for the siege part. Also, having a few Dangpa spearmen will be great in case Gunto Ryers are deployed here. Ringo, though, playing more boom-like, focusing on shrines. Already has one up here, has some developing here, one over here. Yeah. Basically, when you're Japan, the map is your oyster in terms of economy. The more shrines you can get down quickly, the easier time you're going to have overall. And to boot, Toshugu Shrine obviously improves the gather rate of those shrines even further, which is really good. Barracks is down defensively for Japan, so if Korea does try anything, it's going to be a bit hard for Korea to go straight in and do what they want to, obviously. Yeah. Now, question is, what do you do as Japan? You could go skirmish. You could go musketeer. I would probably go skirmish. Yeah, go skirmish. Start skirmish. Because here's a secret about Korea. Korea does not get any hussar like cavalry in Age 2. So if you're worried about hussar like stuff coming out of Korea, surprise, surprise, you don't have to worry about that. So if you want to go skirmishes Japan against them, there's really no consequences to doing it, you know? The only sort of marginal risk you run into with Korea is this other wonder they get where they can spawn some coyote runner type units on top of you pretty much, but that's the only concern really. Some archers do come out from Korea here, and Japan needs to respond very quickly. Villager is in check, gets into the town center safely. Some skirmishers are here, defending the base pretty much. And we're going to have to see how this pans out. Goes with the Portuguese, so this does mean Japan does have that option of getting some Academico volunteers to support that army there pretty much. Let's see if these Kies can hold the line here, and if we see any Portuguese allies join them. Yeah, compared to the Myung, the Kies dish out more damage, but they have less range. The Kies are just under the range of age 3 skirmisher, whereas these Academicos, kind of the same stats as the Bestieros in Definitive Edition, so basically crossbowmen. Both considered skirmish units. Myungyungs statistically are the same as British longbowmen, so they have a little bit more than 20 range. They got 22 range, which in terms of micro on paper is really good for fighting Japan, because basically what Korea can do is they can essentially use their range and their faster rate of fire, because basically since it's a bow unit, these Myungyungs can essentially fire 2 arrows for every bullet that the Japanese units do, pretty much. Yeah, that's basically what makes them really solid all around. One thing to also note too is if Japan decides to face Korea on their home turf here around these military buildings, Korean units can indeed garrison inside the barracks and hide in there and pop out and use micro in that sense as well. Oh, look at that. Almost got him. Very quick movement by Varingo there. Really quick movement there. Alright, so we got some spearmen and some archers. And what's going to happen here? Taking the siege onto the consulate. I wouldn't be targeting the consulate right now. You see, it costs about 400 export to get additional ally battalions of the Academico, so it's going to be quite a while before this thing even gets used again. I would try to maybe target the vills up here, maybe target some shrines or something. Yeah, because what's going to happen is, if you don't pay attention and you're sieging the consulate, this gives Varingo an extra chance to target your archers with his kies and their added damage over your archers, and then Varingo gets the advantage. Main thing you want to do here is let the spearmen do the siege work, and just keep the archers in the back to handle whatever Varingo's doing. That's really your best way to micro this. Yeah, see, like this. This is how you're supposed to use these archers here, to fight the skirmishers, not to be sieging. This is really good usage here. I think Jesucristo is in a good spot here overall, because he's got a pretty good stack, and he's got more to boot over here now. The longer the game goes, the more it goes in Korea's favor, because not only are they constantly able to get villagers from their town center, they're getting free villagers out of this grand palace as well. This is the reason why Varingo is actually trying to sell the score up here, and maybe take out some of these vills at the top here using his little raid up here. A really nice tactic there by Varingo to try to even the economy a bit. It's going to take quite a while, I think, and a lot of negligence on Jesucristo's part to make that happen, but still, it's a good attempt. Oh wow, look at this, going into melee with the skirms. This is some really good quick thinking by Jesucristo there to recover that situation. Also winning on this front, taking down the consulate. Villagers also being pressured pretty much. And villager going down. Oh wow, look at that. Very nice. Oh wow, yep, I think this is a win here. Unless Varingo can salvage the situation on this side. Yeah, because here's the thing, once you lose your ability to have your villagers gathering as the enemy civ, Korea is basically already won, because their economy is pretty much unchecked at that point, and they're gaining so many villagers that eventually it becomes unsalvageable as your opposing civ to Korea. This is why, in fact, I have Korea classified as the best civilization in the mod right now, because their ability to adapt with a good booming economy and a very quick firing long-range archer unit in early game puts them at a really high competitive level. So high, in fact, they're even able to make good trades with very hard-hitting civs like the Ottomans. The Ottomans, of course, with their Janissary Abbas play, which is quite dangerous. So, What we're seeing right now is a pretty good example of why we have Korea as the best rated civ in the mod right now. By far. Faringo at this point is running out of options, tries to go the samurai route. We got some Shigumas there shipped out of the home city, but that's not going to do anything. Once you get to a certain stack of these archers, yeah, it doesn't matter what you pump out, you're going to lose it to these things. The only thing you could potentially try to do is hand cav. Unfortunately, did not get a stable at all, so can't do that. And we got a GG. This was a pretty good cookbook Korea match for you wondering how they do in tournaments and stuff, by the way. So if we see a typical Japan versus Korea with people on, different playing levels, and the Korea knows a bit more than the Japan, this is normally what the Korea is going to be able to do. Double barracks, archers, destroy the enemy base. Boom, using the Grand Palace. These are the basic principles of playing Korea, demonstrated really well by Jesucristo. I do commend Faringo for making a really good attempt there with the consulate, timing with his shrines and his barracks and everything, but yeah, Korea is just that hard to deal with sometimes. You need to really know how to handle your crates well as Japan, and be able to know when you need to get a stable down to get the Gunter Riders. I feel like Gunter Riders would have probably turned this around a bit, but who knows by how much, because once you put the cav down, then they switch to Spearmen and get into that situation. So yeah, it was a good match overall though. And if we look at the post game, boom, 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 Super Eco, and military numbers, I can imagine, were larger, leading to better performance here, as well as the better performance from the rate of fire as well. And here are some basic statistics we look at with Korea all the time. Look at how big the villager incline is. Really good, right? Very good. And then looking at shipments, well, shipments, nothing too different there since, nobody really used the trade route that much, honestly, if I recall correctly, right? Yeah, nobody even used the trade route here. This is a pretty trade route heavy map, and nobody even did anything with that, so that was pretty surprising. Anyways, it was a fun little casted game for you, I hope, and you hopefully learned some stuff about Korea. If you're looking to use them in Wars of Liberty matches online, this is a good little reference for you. Also a bit if you want to do Japan as well, though I'm assuming you have a bit of a prereq in that from the Legacy game or Definitive Edition, so not too much of a difference between that and the Japan and WoW for now. Obviously, when they rework Asians, there's going to be quite a bit of changes, but we'll get there when we get there, right? Anyways, see you on the next cast game we do, whether it's stream or an individual one like this. Sign off now. GG's and well played to everybody.